Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to Broku no Hero. In today's video, I'm going to go over the human-elf conflict in Black Clover and explain everything that we know about it so far. And so I know that technically this human-elf conflict is not 100% over. Not all the details have been revealed. But based on the information we have a great number of details to provide a story of what went down. Now, of course, if things do change, then I will make a part 2 and reiterate and recraft what happens. But the reason why I'm making this video is because this is one of my highest suggested videos that I see in my comments of people saying, Broku, tell us tell us the story of what happened between the humans and the elves. What happened? And while I could wait until the story's completely done, it seems like that the Black Clover arc might stay a bit longer than I thought. So I'm just going to do it now. Then if it's over in a few months and there's different stuff or new stuff, I can just do a part 2. So if you guys do enjoy this video, please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. So, humans, the elves, this goes way back to well over 500 years before the beginning of Black Clover. Basically, humans arrive to where the elves live, and this interaction leads to something interesting. The elves have a high amount of mana and are very good at controlling it. To the humans, the elves are gods, and at first the humans would worship the elves because the elves manipulate ley lines, they would control the weather, they would stop natural disasters, and they also had grimoires. But eventually this tower, the grimoire towers, would give grimoires to the humans of the land as well. And over time, humans got greater with their magic, they got higher amounts of magic, and now massively outnumbering the elves, the humans became an actual race that rivaled the elves. Now, there is a rumored time of antiquity between the races of Black Clover. That would likely mean that the humans, the elves, and the dwarves lived peacefully in the same planet. They probably had their own ways, they probably met every so often, and they might have even had blood pacts or blood weddings before the time of Licht and Tetia. But during this time of antiquity, a human and elf joint partnership would happen. This left the Shadow Palace, which is a border between the world and the afterlife. It was entrusted to the humans. Basically, what would happen is only the 10 apostles, who were the 10 strongest elves, could gain access to the Shadow Palace. And that meant that if the apostles were ever corrupted, then the Shadow Palace could be used by evil ways. So, the Shadow Palace was given to the humans. The humans could not access it because they were not the apostles. And the elves could not access it because the humans had it. So it was a great way of balancing the world and balancing peace, and showed what originally was between the humans and the elves, a good partnership. Now we got to flash forward to Lumiere, who was the first Wizard King, and this time he was a young man. This takes place in 500 BBC. Before Black Clover. 500 years before Black Clover. Basically, first Wizard King's sister is playing with her wind magic, and somehow her wind magic takes her across the country and takes her to the Forsaken Realm, or close to the Forsaken Realm, and that is where the elves are. The first Wizard King, Lumiere, follows after Tetia, and eventually both Lumiere and Licht, the leader of the elf tribe, would stop her wind magic and save her. This would eventually lead to Licht and the first Wizard King realizing really cool parallels between them. Both of them wanted peace between the humans and the elves. Both had a very high amounts of magic, and both had 4-leaf clover grimoires. And not only that, both of their names meant light. Through an unknown amount of time, Lumiere and Licht would meet and would talk about peace between their races. Up until this point, Lumiere had been trying to create a device that would create prosperity and equality between all humans, as the royals and nobles were far more powerful than the commoners and peasants of the Clover Kingdom, which meant that people were far more powerful and given far more powerful magic types than other people just because of birth. Basically, this really took out the concept of hard work being able to go against natural born ability. So the first Wizard King wanted to create a device that would be able to do this, and he did. But this device would not be able to be used in a great way. And this led to the first Wizard King's discovery of the magic stones through Licht. The magic stones are not really like the Infinity Stones from Avengers. They are just magic stones that are very, very powerful. If anybody wears them, it amplifies their mana, and if a elf uses them, they can get the full benefits of a magic stone. So what the first Wizard King does is they plan to team up. They plan to group together. Tetsuya and Licht, they fall in love, and they are planning to get married, and their child of a half-human, half-elf hybrid would be the bridge of peace between the two races. And then Licht and Lumiere would combine the magic stones and the special device, and they would create equal amounts of mana between the classes of the Clover Kingdom. And then elves with their high amount of mana and the humans with their high amount of technology or magic technology would come together, and they would become a very powerful ally or partnership. Now, the royals of the Clover Kingdom were not really fond of this idea. Not only were they not fond of royalty mating with a non-human being and an elf, also, they did not like the idea of the status quo being ruined. They did not like the idea of royals being equal to peasants. As if this plan went through, not only would the humans and elves be great friends and allies, and would a royal be birthing a child that wasn't fully human, but then the royals would not be really that special anymore, because commoners and peasants would have mana that'd be somewhat equal to them, and maybe even greater than them. And they did not want the status quo to be ruined, which makes sense. You do not want your power to be taken away from you. And capitalizing on this, the word devil would create a very crazy disaster. See, this devil takes over a priest inside of the Clover Kingdom. This priest then convinces the royals to attack the elves. The devil gives the royals this device that was used to siphon mana from other beings. So the royals take this device, and the devil then gives the location of Licht and Tetsuya's wedding, and they go attack. Then the devil binds the first Wizard King to this castle, so he cannot leave and stop this from happening. Sakura would save the first Wizard King, and they would make it to Hajj, where the elf tribe is located, but unfortunately, it was too late. The royals had already used this magic device, which took the mana of all of the elves that were at the wedding, and then the mana was then given to all the royals. So now you have royals who were already probably strong, now with amped elven mana, and then you have an entire race of people without mana now. So the elves were effortlessly slaughtered by the royals. Now, seeing this happen, Licht would go into despair. His 4-leaf clover grimoire would turn into a 5-leaf clover grimoire, which the devil wanted. And then Licht was going to turn into a dark elf, which the devil wanted to use that body. The devil would become an unstoppable being if he had gotten dark elf Licht's body and then gotten that 5-leaf clover grimoire. But fortunately for the good guys, and unfortunately for the devil, the Wizard King would show up just in time, and this let Licht break free from his despair for a little instant. And that stopped him from going to a dark elf, but it did not stop him from using the magic stones to summon the ancient demon god. This ancient demon god took over Licht's body, but before that, he begged the first Wizard King Lumiere to kill him to save the world. And thus, the ancient demon was born, and the first Wizard King would fight him in a tough battle, and he would be killed, basically because of the magic device stealing a lot of his mana, and this giving Licht time to take over the body of the ancient demon god, which let Lumiere kill him. After this moment, Lumiere was actually heavily wounded and was sealed by Sakura's sealing magic, and Sakura would protect the 5-leaf clover grimoire of Licht and the statue of the first Wizard King for 500 years, where she would turn into Nero. Now, there also is seemingly a war that happened directly after this. This is talked about by the Witch Queen, where she said that the humans had outnumbered the elves and won a war. Now, this is not what has been shown yet, but it would make sense for this to be a thing. It does not seem like that there was only a few dozen elves like there is in this picture. There was probably a race of hundreds to thousands of them, and only the most powerful or most noble of the elves were at the wedding. But now with the elves without their apostles of Sephira and Licht, their most powerful elves, and also many other elves killed, they would have to fight without their most powerful allies against a race of humans which vastly outnumbered them, and now you have the royals who had elven level of mana. So I'm sure in this war, because of the elves not having their apostles of Sephira, not having Licht, and being outnumbered, and then also the royals of the humans having elven mana, they were probably defeated and destroyed in this war. And soon after, over time, the elves would be remembered as demons, as stories that would be told to children. This is probably because of the nature of the elves. They can turn into a dark elf, which is demon-like, and then a actual elf turned into a demon. And then there was also a war. So what happens in war? The other side gets demonized through propaganda. So I'm sure through all of that, the elves were demonized, and they were turned from elves in these stories of mythology into the tribe of demons. Now, before being sealed, the devil would create a reincarnation spell to make the elves one day come back, and thus it would, and a second war would ensue. But first, in 10 BBC, Patri awakens inside of William Vange's body. Patri was an elf who was killed in the wedding, and was a huge fan of Licht. Patri was taken over William's body, was given light magic, and got a 4-leaf clover grimoire. And also, he looked exactly like Licht for some reason, so he took the name of Licht in honor of him. Over the years, Patri and William would switch bodies. William fighting as a knight, and then eventually a captain, and then Patri plotting the rise of the Eye of the Midnight Sun, the terrorist organization, while pretending to be Licht. Patri would find the human versions of Fauna, Veto, and Raya, who were vessels for the reincarnation magic. He jumps ahead their reincarnation spells, and the elves take over their body. Fauna, Veto, and Raya would form the strongest branch of the Eye of the Midnight Sun, the Third Eye. Over the years, Patri, the Eye of the Midnight Sun, and the Third Eye would go around collecting the magic stones, constantly warring with the magic knights of the Clover Kingdom. Finally, the Eye of the Midnight Sun would gather 7 of the 10 stones, and the 2 of the last 3 were in the hand of the Wizard King, Julius Novachrono. Patri would then fight this Wizard King, exploiting the Wizard King's weakness, as Patri was in William's body. William was like a son to Julius, the Wizard King. So, Julius would not use any of his most powerful spells to kill Patri, which would weaken him. Patri would then unseal his magic and would use trickery, covering the entire country in a spell, which caused the first Wizard King to counter. This spell was so massive, though, that the Wizard King, Julius Novachrono, had no mana or time left, and thus was stabbed by Patri in the chest with a sword of light. Patri then stole the final 2 stones and teleported back to base. Patri would then activate the Elven spell, bringing back the elves for the first time in over 500 years, and wars would ensue. Unfortunately for the Clover Kingdom, not only did they lose the Wizard King, they lost one of their most powerful captains in William Vangeance, and they lost the entirety of their squad, the Golden Dawn, except for Mimosa and Yuno, as William would somewhat help Patri in his goals, as over the years he used his advanced mana sensing to see which magic knight trainee would eventually become an elf through the reincarnation magic. And thus, the entire Golden Dawn, the most powerful brigade of the magic knights of the Clover Kingdom, would thus be not only become enemies of the kingdom, but get a massive power boost. There would be many battles between the humans and the elves, many in manga, in panel, in story, many off panel, many in the background that we'll probably never see. There were probably at least thousands of deaths, as these elves are very powerful compared to humans, and they are attacking non-military targets too. Even a single weak elf was strong enough to, by itself, destroy and take over the city of Hajj Had it not been for two powerful magic knights and Asta and Yuno to arrive, Hajj would have been nothing left. The apostles would then enter the Shadow Palace, and Yuno would make contact with Patri, Raya, and Ron. Ron would steal the magic stone from Yuno, only to reveal himself to be the devil, and would take the body as his true form, and reveals that he has powerful word soul magic. Asta and Yuno try to take him down, but the devil reveals to Patri that he was a pawn this whole time. Patri's 4-leaf clover was always intended to be the devil's own 5-leaf clover grimoire, once he would use Patri as a pawn long enough for him to reach despair. Now with Patri losing his grimoire to the devil, he would then turn into a dark elf and would overpower Asta and Yuno, only to be defeated by Captain Nozel. Asta converts dark elf Patri back to the light, and the three of them team up to go fight the devil. Lumiere resurrects by Finral, and Nero is revealed to be Secre. Lumiere arrives to the Shadow Palace and fully awakens Licht, where Lumiere Licht will team up to fight the devil. How will the relationship between human and elf end? So that's it for the human-elf conflict. Now, I made this video because most of it takes place a long time ago. A lot of the interesting stuff of the humans meeting the elves and worshipping them as gods. And then the time of antiquity where the race of humans were equal to the race of elves. If you don't know the time of antiquity, it could be either just a time of the past or a glorious time of peace in the past, which means that humans, elves, dwarves probably were in peace with each other. Then there is the time of Lumiere and his goal of creating equality. And then there is Patri being resurrected 10 years before the story. And then there's everything that's been happening as of late. So it's a pretty big, long conflict with a lot of cool stuff in it. I really like the human-elf conflict. Hopefully we get a lot more stuff explained. But anyways, guys, let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you learned anything. Please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. One thing I want to say is that if there was a war in the aftermath of Lumiere defeating the ancient demon god, where the royals lead an army of men against the elves, I would love to see that war. That would be an absolutely crazy war to see. Because even if the elves lose the apostles of Sephiroth, they lose Licht, and they lose a bunch of other elves, they should still be very powerful in their own right. And also, even though the humans have the royals, the regular humans should not be comparable to the elves. So there's probably a war where a lot of people died, which further pushed the demonization of the elves. And in the stories that were told to children, instead of the elf tribe, their names were changed to the demon tribe. But that's it for my video. Hope you guys enjoy. Plus...